So why aren't synthetic proteins an answer to this conundrum in the next, maybe not in the next 5 years commercialized, but after 10 years? There's certainly some evidence of edible. I think part of the problem has been aesthetics. Like a lot of the synthetic proteins look like sludge. So it's kind of a combination of getting people to eat them and being able to produce them at scale. But clearly, if you transitioned from grown meat to lab grown produced meat, you would solve a huge swath of these problems if you could get adaptation. Is that in the realm of possibility in the next decade plus?
Yeah, no, I'm very excited about them. I think, I actually started my reporting for this book in 2019 at the Good Food Institute conference, which is kind of the trade group for alternative proteins. This was shortly after Beyond Meat plant, pea-based burger company had just gone public, and it was like it's still the biggest popping IPO of the 21st century. And it was like insane. I thought I was going to accidentally raise a Series A on the drinks line. I mean, it was like every people were talking about like whether it was going to be 10 years or 15 years until they completely got rid of the meat industry. The irrational exuberance was completely off the charts. And then when I was near the end of my reporting, I went back to the Good Food Institute conference in 2023, and it was like all doom and gloom. It was like, what the hell were we thinking? This was all just a fad. Nobody's investing anymore. Beyond Meat has gone from $250 a share to $2 a share. Lab grown meat hasn't even made it to market. But the answer, I think, and Zachary, better than anybody about these hype cycles where you have your peak of inflated expectations and then the trough of disillusionment. But I do think, we're going to get out of it. And, this stuff makes a lot of sense, right? The idea of, you know, growing meat instead of growing an animal where you have to provide energy to into hooves and tails and breathing and reproductive stuff and keeping it alive. It's a lot more efficient to just grow the meat. So you don't have a chicken that clucks and has feathers and a beak. I do think that that is going to be inevitable. Right now, like you said, the initial plant-based products have not been good enough or cheap enough, or at least not as good or as cheap as meat, which is a really tough competitor because meat is delicious and our species and our ancestors have been eating it for 2 million years. So it's going to be hard and it's going to take government investment and research. But I think there's been a lot of progress being made already. There's already no reason to eat a chicken nugget anymore, if there ever was. The plant based ones are just as good, in blind taste tests, they do fine. And, on the lab grown side or cultivated meat, the costs have gone down like 99.9%. And they probably need to come down 99.99% before they're actually competitive with even sort of premium styles of meat. But I'm pretty confident that they're going to get there. And that, as you suggest, I think that could be a real kind of a new agricultural revolution.